activated. So that's why I said the return of the X solar flares that's amalgamating with the physical world. So that's why they're coming out with a new draconian scandemic when they're talking about the it's letter X. They're actually acclimating that to what's going on. So it's not a coincidence that they know that these cosmic energies that's coming in is going to cause a form of pestilence. So that's why I'm saying, like, you got leprosy going on. So that's the reason why you see all these things that's taking place.
Wow, very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. So is there anything, what should we, in terms of 2024, because we hear a lot about 2012, we heard about the year 2000. Where does 2024 fall in level of importance with these other years that we have heard about? Do you think it's like, you know, extremely important for the planet? Like how serious should we take what's going down with this eclipse with the X of 2024?
You should take it important because, like, when you break down a numerical spectrum of 2024, it's equated to the infinity symbol, which is the number 8. So it's another way to bring you back into a artificial time analysis mechanism. It's a time loop. So because they know that 2025 is going to be the beginning points of the ascension process, because 9 is basically the symbology of evolution. So when you talk about 2025, so that's another way to galvanize the frequencies of the souls on this planet to where they implement a new matrix, you know what I'm saying, to subjugate humanity. So that's why next year there's going to be a lot of psychological operations that's going to be taking place.
You know, X, when you said, when you mentioned the number 8 in the infinity symbol, X actually looks like the infinity symbol, an open infinity symbol. That's some deep shit.
Yeah,
X looks like it's open on both ends.
It's like another way to break out of the 8.
Yeah. So it's like, hold on, let me see. It's like that's an X family, right? But then if we close it, you know what I'm saying? It looked like, you know, you can almost have an infinity.
That's a download right there.
Yeah, that's a download family. So what's your thoughts on the infinity symbol in X then?
Well, from my perspective, I think the infinity symbol, a lot of people said it's like it's a representation of infinite energy, but I think it's connected to the fact that it's bringing you back into a timing loop. It's basically like a another way to where they use cause and effect, like through a Hegelian dialectic principle. They create circumstances on the planet to bring about a certain agenda. It's like they keep bringing about these psychological operations. So the X is also the representation of a form of transformation to where you're not acclimated to the energy of the time loop, because the time loop of the matrix system, when you understand the mechanisms of it, everything is derived on a ley line grid system, right? So that means that when you're born into the matrix, when you're born into sin, it's not a coincidence that our hands is also connected to the ley line grid system. We're born in the matrix system. You're basically encrypted on a certain geographical areas on this planet to where you're not able to reap the benefits of ascension. So now, when you're talking about that X is also the symbology of your so-called great awakening, because they know that these new energies that's coming in has a centripetal or an centrifugal forces that has a tetrahedron energy.
Right. No, I had to wipe the.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm just, you're talking, and I'm like, things is coming to me like a lot of, like, as far as this X. I remember it was either Rod Hayes or wait, let me get rid of this. Or a couple of people said that in the middle of your hand, because you mentioned your hand. Most of us have a X. Where's it at? Right, it's right there, family. You see that? Y'all see that, family? So right in the middle of our hand, the majority of us have an X. There's no getting around this X, bro.
It's everywhere.
And it's in both my hands, dead center in the middle of my hand. There's an X on each palm. And I remember Rod, I forgot what they said about that, but I just thought about that when you was talking. But BDELL, besides that, and that's, you know, just y'all making a lot of connections in the chat, but that's interesting. All right, yeah.
Once again, 432 hertz, binaural beats, and John Coltrane. My son was born in jazz. You know, That's another thing you could play at night too, is some jazz.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's see. Let's get to another question. What does he think about digital music and synthesized sounds in comparison to natural music from real instruments and the effect it has on the spirit?
Well, I think when you look at, the foundation of jazz music, you know, in my opinion, I think the universe operates on the frequency of jazz music, and it's also acclimated to your nervous system. So just in itself, like when you have like real instruments, real octave cymatic frequencies, it's able to uh, rejuvenate the body. You know what I'm saying? And it's able to put the brain and your neurological faculties in a balanced state. So that's why, the great majority I listen to like music. I listen to a lot of jazz music most of the time when I'm chilling out, just reading. I play it lightly in the background, but I don't really get into the whole digital musical instruments and stuff like that. But
Right. Natural and real music will put you in it.
Like just like the organ, you know what I'm saying? Organs, probably revitalize your organs when you play the organs, because it's not by accident that they sound the same. So
right. Real instruments will put you in a trance, and synthesized sounds will put you in a spell. That's the difference. You're not going to get put in a trance under digital music. Doesn't happen like that. If you were to examine the music industry and how the killings of the rappers 10x and 100x, it actually happened at the time of the digital music taking over and the synthesized sounds. Once the real music and the real instruments was removed, then we begin to see the spell even take place at a higher level. It didn't have the same effect when they were using real instruments. When Jay-Z does a live show with real instrument, it neutralizes the shit that he was saying, the synthesized beats. When any artist performs with a live band, the frequency that they're able to cast and the spell that they're able to cast and the trance that they're able to put on the listener or in the audience, right, is higher than if you get up there with those with that little Uzi synthesized sound. When you get up there with the digital music or what they call the electronic sound, the electronic music, that's not real. That doesn't have the same effect of a drum. Any of the producers and beat makers out there, they can also tell you. I would love for Rich to answer that question because, I've been in sessions and whatnot where real instruments were played versus what was coming off of the machine, and it sounds completely different. They have completely different frequencies and energies to them. And if you add live music to your song, you have a higher probability for making a hit or a classic. Forget about a hit. Make a classic. Because a classic is a classic and a hit. It can hit 100 years from now. Make a classic and put natural music in your music. And I promise you, you have more of an opportunity to do that than if you have it sounding like a video game.
And plus the digital synthesized music, that's also acclimated to nanogenetic mind control. Alexa, stop.
Super facts.
Yeah, it's also connected to nanogenetic mind control. So it's
that was a bar right there. The great divine speaks a sign. He said that was genetic mind control. Some shit said doo-doo-doo. He said Alexa. They're telling me about me and my chat bot. They're telling me about Chat GP5, and he just told, let's go.
Now, let's get to the next question. What can be done to take back our music? Generational wealth is being ripped away from us.
All of the DJs that are out there, stop being lame. And I would say more, but this is a family show. You know, I got some of my hardest criticism for the DJ. They the ones that drop the ball, not the artists. The artists exist. The artists are thriving. The artists are creating. There's a whole ecosphere of artists out here with bars and classics. It's just the DJs chose the lower frequency, and they felt they basically, you know, they bent their knee and whatnot, and they failed at their job. It was the DJs, not the DJ like you on stage with the artist. We ain't talking about that DJ. That DJ don't exist no more. We talking about the mixtape DJ, the playlist DJ, and the club DJ. Y'all was supposed to have conscious music lit right now, because there's artists that got some lit ass music, but it's not going to grow legs, and it's not going to be a hit if your ass don't play it in the club.
Facts.
Or if you don't play it on the radio, or if you don't play it to college students. Y'all are the ones that became the D riders of the frequency that put you under control and whatnot. And you fell into the quote unquote, you were the first bottle girls and the first lap dancers.
Mm-hmm.
You hoard yourself out for a frequency of music and whatnot that you thought was going to get you lit and whatnot. But how, when none of you stand out, there's a million of the DJs playing the same music, and there's only like 4 or 5 of them that stand out, and all of the ones that's getting real money is melanated right now. But if you broke Cyrock, if you broke Cambada, if you broke the Pillars, if you broke AA, if you had that on your name and your title and whatnot, your value would have gone up, and you would have been a part of history. And you niggas dropped the ball. That's a fact. So when any DJ try to ride through and say something, I'm like, yo, you got to show me with your action. I was listening to you for 10 years, but nobody was listening to me with your goddamn tag on it, with you playing it though. So the DJs could start with that. We are already taking back our music. Stop signing to the labels and build your own. Tap into the AI tools that are available and turn your thing into something new and something exciting. The Apple glasses is coming. So get into VR, virtual reality, augmented reality. You have to take this music from a whole different stance right now. Be in a metaverse with bars. Be in a digital world with bars. I'm telling you that. Stop being so proud and whatnot. But it don't got to be you. It could be your children. And it don't matter what age you are. If you have talent, why would you not do something when everybody else is doing something? Do you know how much songs get uploaded a day? Why would you not? If everybody else is if they throwing their hat in the ring, because that's why I say I can't blame nobody for doing what they do. This is not the record industry of 20 years ago, right, Rich? Indeed. How easy was it to get a record out 20 years ago if you was nice and you was like, I want the world to hear me? You couldn't take that. You just couldn't be any independent route. No, you couldn't do it like that. Now you could do that. So we need more goddesses singing about them being goddesses. We need people to take these popular beats and these TikTok beats out here and remix them and put some new, but I'm not going to say positive, because that's not what I don't rap positive. I rap a frequency that's in alignment with my DNA and who I told the people I was. I give them a version of the Scorpion King. You know what I'm talking about? But they say that you have 1,000 parts of you. So I give them all parts of myself, because I will not box myself in. So there's a whole spectrum of what I represent. And I have multiple sounds, multiple styles and whatnot, multiple flows. You know, I'm just being, it's some of the most therapeutic it's some of the most therapeutic outlets that you could ever think of, where you could just put your creation out there into the world, with nobody telling you when you could do it, how you could do it. We need to own you. You need to sign your life away to us. Nah, bro. So people be complaining about some of the wrong things, but more artists need to get on the frequency, tap in, and get to this bag, because it's out here. It's out here. Don't limit yourself. Your face card is good everywhere, even in cyberspace. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, BDELL, did you want to touch on that question, or you want to move on to the?
No, well, in my opinion, I think the best way to take back the music is have the resurgence of the underground music. I kind of see it being done with Griselda a little bit, and play many different branches of hip hop groups that's stemming out of that demographic right there. But that's the only way to do it, is to, you know, revitalize the infrastructure of the underground music industry, and then stop signing to these big corporations and these big record labels. That's the only way you can really do it.
We're saying the same thing, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask y'all, do y'all think quote unquote low frequency fans support the low frequency artists more than high frequency fans support high frequency artists?
Hell
and
yeah.
if so, why are so-called low vibrational people, why do they appear to be so supportive opposed to the Jay-Z's, or as they say, Beyonce's, or whoever they say is a part of the Illuminati? The low frequency fans seem to be way more supportive to these artists than the high frequency fans appear to be to these high frequency artists like a Cambada or Cyrock or whoever may be out there. Why does that appear to be?
Reason I think so is because there's a dichotomy between individuality and personality. So the great majority of people who are acclimated to that low vibrational energy, they dealing with the dynamics of a personality. A person who has individuality, they're more subjected to not to venerate anything outside of themselves to a certain standpoint. So a lot of people who dealing with the aspect of a personality, they worship the artist. They venerate everything that the artist does. If the artist says do this and that, they're basically acclimate that energy, and they do the same thing that the artist was basically perpetuating in the music and things of that nature. So they have a more autonomous fan base because, like I said, they need a form of external stimulation.
Low frequency music could also be called bass music. And bass music is, has a bass foundation, and the bass foundation is always more populous than what you see at the top. So the higher that you get in frequency, the more thinner the air gets. It's not the other way around. So there are more ignorance is bliss. So there's more people at that lower frequency, which would consider to be the bottom or the lower rungs. And we're in Mount Oof, or what you call the Kali Yuga and whatnot. So yeah, there's a lot of people in the pit. So there's large numbers of that. As you elevate in thought, the way that the frequency and the way that the lyrics and the way that the music is put together, it will either magnify or repel when people are interfaced with it based on what their frequency is. So the measuring point of people's frequency should be the music. If you could stand in the club and listen to an hour of Cambada, and feel it, to whereas you're dancing like how they danced in house music, you just let the music and the lyrics go through you, and then it actually takes you into possession and into trance, and you're coming up with new dances and everything, and you find a self of freedom. You could break through, especially if you're on the shrooms, because his music not only is high frequency, but it's made with a certain type of frequency where it's infused with the psychedelics and the psilocybin and things of that nature. So it's almost like if you take that, it will unlock multiple worlds, because words are what? Worlds.
Yeah.
Words are worlds. So I'm saying, we're going into a future that's coming up very soon where you'll be able to walk into a world that you created with your words, because Apple is coming with the glasses. And please believe, when an Apple product drops, the world stops.
Facts.
Everything is going to make sense that we've been telling you about since the beginning of this fiscal year with AI and we've been preparing you. But when them glasses drop, it's going to be an iPhone moment. So things like Cambada's music and Cyrock's catalog, you'll be able to see that in a virtual reality sense. You'll be able to see the words come to life. the genius that these artists possess are so ahead of their time that the reverberation of the impact that they have on the collective is not going to be felt immediately. You feel me? I was alive when Jay-Z came out. He wasn't felt immediately. His impact was it took time. You know what I'm saying? So the music is being created and it already has a reverberation. The numbers of the people who subscribe to the soundtrack, right? Once they fully are able to tap in and you see the full numbers of them, that's when you see the multi-million-dollar sales. The fact is the network is not put together properly and whatnot, and there's no cohesion and things of that nature to properly see a Cambada go 1 million out the gate, because that's highly possible because they're dropping videos and it's going 1 million out the gate. The numbers are there. And we're talking about a single for $1. So the numbers are definitely there. The numbers have not learned to coalesce as a collective so their names can be counted. Once that's established, then we'll begin to see what we need to see. I just think that there needs to be a little fixing taking place. But the DJs, once they step it forward and do their due diligence, then it will make the quote unquote train begin to move again and the plane begin to fly again. They're holding us back.
We're gonna get to one more question before we get out of here. Magnificent show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I mean, what a magnificent show. This last question here, they want to know, do the streets still determine what's hot? Great question.
Hell yeah. The hottest song in New York right now is Scarlet, Get the Fuck Out New York. And the street said it was a banger. And I was like, it's a banger because they said that. When I first heard it, it wasn't a banger. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I was like, Astaghfirullah, what am I listening to? But when the streets co-signed it, the angle changed. You look at it differently. So it's all about perception. Life is what? Perception. If this shit is lit, if they say it's lit, it's lit. If it's lit, it's lit. If they say that you lit, if the ladies say that you lit, you lit.
That's facts. If the suburbs say that you lit too.
That's right.
That's